Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
What's up? It's Brice.
It's your boy Wendell.
And it's Jack, and we're your baby boys.
Get ready for a new episode of
Survivor News.
And we are back this week with your Survivor News covering season 44, episode 6. And we are joined with the baby boy that is the Jackery to the Atkins. You might know him from The Circle season 2. Emily, the floor is lava. Or you might know him from Brice and Wen Tour. What's popping? Oh,
Come on, baby.
You got the Brice and Wen Tour merch.
Yes, sir.
Yes, how are you?
Get you some. Go get you some of this. It's the chicken salad.
It's the chicken salad superior. Well, listen, there is no debate who's going to be the moderator this week when Desi is officially, okay, we had to put him on spring break, okay? So, Jack, so glad that you're not on spring break. But listen, if when Desi isn't here, I figure we could have a guest on. And this phenomenal, amazing Miss USA, you might remember her from Survivor Healers, Hustlers, Heroes, or you might know this baddie from The Challenge USA season 1. Let's welcome back to the podcast, Miss Desi Williams.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. How are you?
I can't complain. The sun's finally out in LA. It's been like a winter, rainstorm for the past 3 months here. So finally it's sunny, so I'm feeling good.
Yes, I feel like the three amigos are back together because we were together in South Africa.
It's been a minute. Yeah. Always good to be back with my brethren.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Desi.
Thanks, Jack.
Well, I mean, the baby boys just got back from Atlanta for the Brice and Wen Tour.
Oh, yeah. When did you fly home? I just realized you're home and not still in Atlanta.
Yes, I flew on the first thing smoking this morning. So it was great to be in Atlanta. I was actually with your sister, Desi. Shout out to Raven. And we just had so many amazing people. There was Ozzy, there was Owen, there was Michael from the Traders, there was James, your fellow Challenge USAer. There was Abraham, Carla, Davey, T-Bird, so many people from the Mold. There were a lot of surprise guests. And, if you come to the Brice and Wen, you know. But listen, the biggest guest of them all, we had Jack Black up in the building.
I seen him on Instagram.
Okay, Jack Atkins couldn't be there, so we had to call in a favor and get Jack Black in the building.
This is actually only funny because Jack, you're still saved in my phone as
Jack Black.
Jack Black.
A lot of people say we look very alike. Stuff.
We love it. And
wait, how did he end up at the function?
The Purple Pants posse runs deep, Jack.
I know, but now you're getting some A-listers out here.
We've been had A-listers. Okay, it's like we actually were at a restaurant and he was there, and then we were like, "Listen, come across the street." And so, it was really great to have him in the Brice and Wen Tour 44. It's just keeping on rolling. We have completed our first half and the second half of the tour. We're going to Pittsburgh next week. And listen, the lineup for Pittsburgh is crazy. We've got Ozzy, we've got Jonathan, we've got Mike, we've got Russ Swan, the legend, we've got Mama C, we've got some Big Brother players from Big Brother, I want to say 23 or 24, Nicole. So there is just so much happening in Pittsburgh. So if you haven't got your tickets are still available. And after that,
for me, wait, can we go back to Pittsburgh photo real quick? Like, what was the direction on this photo shoot? Like, what is this?
We were doing the Brice and the Wen.
Okay.
So, we always have fun on our photo shoots. At Pittsburgh, we're going to Boston, okay? May 3rd, get ready. May 10th, we're coming home, Philadelphia, and we are bringing it all home in May 24th, the finale in Brooklyn, and we've got a welcome party on Tuesday. So tickets are available. Okay. Click the link in my bio, click the link in the Brice and Wen Present bio. And I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I was screaming all night. So it is definitely a fun time. And so enough about that. But I'm so happy to have everyone here. Did you guys the episode?
Speaking of screaming, I just feel like I've never watched a Survivor episode with this much squealing and squeaking and shrieking, like between Jamie and sometimes Lauren, and even like Carson joined into this episode. I'm like, why don't these people stop yelling? They are always screaming and shrieking.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it was like it wasn't Carolyn this episode.
right. Of all people, yeah, she was pretty.
She was the chillest.
Carolyn was chill, but listen, we love Carolyn over here, Team Carolyn. So yeah, let's get into it. Jack, what you got for us?
I mean, starting out pretty simple. The tribes find out that they're going to be, getting together on the same beach where they're going to have to earn the merge. And obviously, that's sort of the theme of this whole episode. It's something we've seen in the new era of Survivor. And before we dive too into the specifics, I kind of just want to get your guys' thoughts on this earn the merge sort of twist that they've been implementing.
Well, Desi, you go first because you've made the merge. I don't know, child. I can't earn no merge.
I mean, I feel like I can feel as a viewer, I actually really like it because it adds another like element of excitement. Like you think you've kind of reached the pinnacle of Survivor, like I might be on the jury, but then you can just draw a rock and get paired with a crappy team, and all of a sudden your future isn't so secure. So as a viewer, I like it, but as someone playing the game, I would hate it because not only are you potentially going home, but you also don't get the merge feast. And I feel like part of the excitement of making it to the merge is like finally getting a meal after being starved for days and days and days. So I have mixed feelings.
Well, I don't love it because I feel like, if you merge, you merge. If you don't merge, then, that's what I just feel like. If you merge, I feel like you should merge. I don't like this, like, I don't get a merge buff type of stuff. But before we get into that, Jack, I know when Desi isn't here, but I feel like Desi is a woman of a certain rhythm. And I just, real quick, Jack, to the left, everything you own in the box, to the left, in the closet, that's my
stuff.
Yes, if I bought it, please don't
touch.
Keep talking there. Yes, fine.
Could you walk and talk at the same time? And
it's my name that's on that. Standing in the sun, come read how I'm such a fool.
Talking about
you ain't never gonna find a like me.
Got me twisted.
You must not know about me. You must not know about me. I can have enough of you.
In a minute.
Jackery.
Wait, really, Jack? All that?
If you would like to make the merge,
I've heard the song.
Oh, yeah.
God, I've heard the song. Can I get like a multiple choice?
No.
Can you guess who sings it?
Yeah, guess the artist.
I was gonna guess Beyonce, but okay. Come on.
Okay, Jack. The song is irreplaceable.
Of course, that was my next guess. You beat me to it.
Yeah, we didn't say that part of the song, so I guess
I tried to leave it out, not make it too hard on the young lad.
Thank you. Right. I've been getting better every episode.
We've been making it a little easier.
I'm earning the merge. Both things can be true.
I mean, if he didn't get that one, does he? I don't know if we should.
He's definitely not gonna get mine. Definitely. He might not have been alive, to be fair.
I don't think. But hit me with it.
Should I sing it?
Go ahead, Desi. See if you got it.
Should I start from the chorus or?
Child, start from the chorus because I don't really know it like that either.
Oh, okay. Don't listen to what people say.
They don't know about you and me.
Put it out your mind. Cause
What
it's
you do to
jealousy.
say? They don't
Know about
about you and me.
Don't listen to
To
what people say.
say
They don't know
about
about you and me.
me.
Put it out your mind, cause it's jealousy.
The-
They don't know about this. Mm.
I think I know this one about as well as Bryce does.
Oh no, I know it.
I could have sung as much as Bryce did there
Don't
with
do
the
that, Jack.
ad libs.
Don't
What's
listen.
what's it called, Bryce?
Well, first of all, you should know this because I feel like you and this artist got a lot in common.
What?
I feel like
Okay,
their
okay.
melatonin level is the same.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
true.
that's what I. That's what
Let
I
me
picked
see
up,
when
like
this song came out, though. When were you born?
2000.
Oh my God, Jack.
Not 2000. This song came
Yeah.
out. It was released in 97.
Oh, well, you should add this to your smooth. It's called "They Don't Know" by John B. Jack.
John B.
Exactly.
From Outer Banks. He's making music.
He's
Jack
what they
Black?
call a one-hit wonder.
He had but that was his biggest one. But yeah, so okay, 1 out
So
of
the
2.
Earn the Merge.
No, I think you didn't get a buff. Feels like you didn't get a buff.
Yeah, you definitely didn't get a buff.
Yeah, but you didn't go home. So
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. But to that point, sort of terrible segue, but I'm not really a huge fan of the Earn the Merge either because as a player, I agree with what you guys said. Like once you're there, you want the feast. You want to just like you already in the merge by getting 6 vote outs, and then even as a viewer, I feel like the merge is such a classically chaotic scramble where if you only cut down the available options, if you cut down the available options in half, it sort of limits that potential for chaos. Like I feel like one of the best Survivor people cite the Kagayan merge as one of the best Survivor episodes ever because that's when they flipped the whole script on Sarah Lucina and then everyone had these crazy reactions where Spence was like Cass 0% chance of winning like all that, and that was just like crazy tribal, whereas now it just feels like okay, it narrows it down to like 1 or 2 options and people want to play it safe because there's fewer options to go home. So I don't know. It just I think I definitely miss the old merge structure.
are you a Survivor savant? Like, how do you know the script from?
That's a legendary line, though, Desi.
That was on 10 years ago.
That's
like,
just an iconic line, yeah.
And it wasn't 10, girl. It was like
That's just
4.5.
Yeah. Just a couple years ago.
I think the one thing that I do think it really is, I think Danny said it the best, is that Survivor is a game of skill, challenge, and luck. So I do feel like had we drawn different rocks, the tribal could have been a lot more exciting and a little bit more riveting, and depending on which tribe went home. But being as though the particular tribe that went home, they were kind of sort of setting the stage up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Another random thing that, not to get off topic, but like one of the most underrated players outside of Carolyn, in my opinion, is Franny. I really feel like this episode, they really highlighted her. When Desi not here, so I don't want to get the Brictionary out, but they really highlighted her persuasion.
He sent me a copy.
Yeah, or her strength. Like it seemed really like what Franny wanted happened, or she was like the wave, and then the tsunami came. And just little pieces, just about how in tune she was and just the things that she wanted. So I just really was like, I'm just so surprised how strong of a player she is, and we don't really get to see a lot of Franny.
Very astute observation. I hadn't noticed that about Franny.
So I'm not surprised.
I'm lagging a little, so I'm gonna move to a different spot real quick.
Oh, okay. Jack is, if you're watching on YouTube, Jack is at his dad's house. And is this Houston?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm about to move to my dad's office.
He
He says I can't go in there without
Can
permission.
you go to your office for the day, Dad?
I'm doing business, Dad, I swear.
Leave my pens alone.
This is a real job, Dad.
I'm not just podcasting. I'm podcasting with my friends. I'm on spring break.
This is hectic. This is hectic.
I know.
It's a
I'm
lot.
sorry.
Welcome to podcasting with Jack.
Hey, when I'm at my own home, it's always a little bit easier.
Okay, Jack is
Wow,
back.
got this nice picture of
Yeah, like
you know.
Survivor kind
Yeah,
of.
Survivor. Okay,
Yeah.
it looks
All right.
like a.
I think the service is a little better in here too, so hopefully it'll stick with us. But yes, Franny, definitely very, like you said, persuasive. And I think we're seeing a lot of people, and I think it is fitting in this new era of people that are playing really subtle games, but really like intentional games, like a Franny or even a Carson, or even a Carolyn, who's been sort of low key but is maneuvering quite well.
I would like to know what the logic was, because I couldn't figure it out. Like, what do you all think was Josh's logic for lying to everyone about having an idol that he already knows he was busted for, about being fake? Like, what could potentially be the logic behind that?
See, I think Josh was holding on to hope that Carolyn and Jam Jam believed it, right? And so if he's already told him that, and I think what we saw when it fell apart, and he's like, "Give it back to me," I think watching it, I don't think that they really said to him like, "Boy, if you don't get this on my face." And so it's like, for him, I felt like, okay, I gotta hold on to this, and I am gonna still want to like tell people that I have an idol. Now, what lost me was you tell some people you do, and you tell some people you don't. And I think that that's one of the things where when you lie, it snowballs, right? And so now it's like, okay, I done lied to you. Now I gotta not lie to you. And now I feel like the lie got bigger than what it actually was. And it really put a target on his back, which kind of sort of sucks. But yeah, it was just like, why tell Brandon that you have an idol?
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of his lie earlier in the season when he switched the tribes, and Sarah was like, "Oh, are you a doctor?" He's like, "No, I'm not a doctor." Like, even though he had already told his own tribe that he's a doctor, it's like these sort of lies where you're telling different people different things. People talk, like they're gonna come back and bite you in the ass. So
right, yeah. If you're gonna tell a lie, you have to stick to the lie forever on the game, like at least for the 26 days you're on Survivor. Like,
and I don't know. I think maybe Josh, like, he's definitely a smart guy. So, but I think he probably thought that would translate into Survivor a little bit more, where he could get away with these lies, and really they weren't as thought out as they need to be.
I also think it has a lot to do with when he left his original tribe, we see where he thinks that he's in such a great standing. And so, but we as the viewers see that we want to target him. And so I think that him telling these lies, I don't think that he believed his threat was as high as it was. So it's like, okay, I could kind of sort of tell you this, nobody talking about me, and I'll move forward. But little did he know that he was, they were super onto him. Another thing that I just want to talk about that, like, maybe we're not seeing, that it's a little sensitive to me, only because, I'm just trying to figure this out. Okay, first of all, I'm here for Franny and Matt, okay? My Fran.
Okay. Maybe frat?
Frat. Jack, what's yours?
I like my friend, but maybe they're more than friends.
They're just my friend on the island. And it's just like, how is this not an issue yet?
Well, I think we saw next week's episode.
Right.
But yes, I too am shocked that like we see it so much, but they must be like really good at hiding it.
I mean, are they? Because I felt like they was laying down in this scene. They was laying down, and like we saw the other people. Right? Hold up, child. Now
Yeah.
Somebody just hold my hand. But I feel like every episode we get them like, we got to stay away from each other. But then all we get is more Fran content.
The people can't get
Yeah.
enough Fran content.
Okay.
No, I mean,
But
I
he's
think
looking at her in this still though. That's
Right.
So sweet.
I think when you have a connection like this, it sort of inevitably is gonna be a big deal. But I also agree with Desi. Like maybe they're doing a relatively okay job of hiding it. Like we see Matt tell Franny, like, "Hey, if I win a reward, like I can't take you because we have to keep this under wraps." But obviously, when you're cuddling in the shelter every night, like someone's gonna catch on. And like
Right.
like Des said, and I think in the preview for the next episode, we see that it starts to come to a head a little bit. So.
And who was on their tribe before? I just also feel like maybe it is an issue, but they haven't been like in jeopardy. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
true. It's been Danny and Heidi and McFran. And so they've been like a tight twosome. So I guess it's now when we get to the merge, it really becomes a bigger thing. But it's like,
yeah, to be fair, we haven't seen like, yeah, I feel like there has been a lot of storyline around those tribes anyways.
Yeah.
right. But and also it's like Matt. It's like, Desi, I can't take you to my family's picnic this year, but you're still my McFran. Like we know this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
they do have the potential though. Like if they, I mean, being as how intact Franny's mind is in the game, and how Matt seems to be working these other relationships, they really could play this realm really well.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, even though they're close, I don't know if they'll be the biggest target for the next episode. So they may be able to like skate along longer than expected.
Yeah, I would agree. I hope this. I want to know. The tea is. I want to know what's the status of the relationship now.
Don't we all?
True.
Even Jeremy wanted to know last night. He was like, "Ooh, are they still together?"
Right, like
I would love to know too.
yes, I would love to. Like maybe we'll have to get some answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely need some answers on that. I'm secretly hoping that whenever people do turn on them, it's just an all-out war between Fran and everyone else, and maybe they have a nice smooch before one of them gets voted out. I don't know. Would be pretty epic.
I'll just take a nice long hug.
A nice long hug, maybe some breath work.
Come on, it's breathing with Dan.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of covers the bases of when they first hit this new beach. And then we see them go to this immunity challenge like we've seen in the past seasons where they have to earn the merge. They get split into two different teams. The purple team consisting of Carson, Matt, Jamie, Franny, Carolyn, and Brandon. And the orange team consisting of Heidi, Danny, Josh, Jam Jam, Lauren, and Kane. And the challenge is to push a huge boulder through an obstacle course before scaling a almost vertical wall and then solving this vertical tree puzzle. And ultimately, it's a very even match until they get to the puzzle where Carson has practiced this puzzle many times at home after he 3D printed it. And so he was able to complete it almost like he's done it before, which he obviously has. A lot, which results in the purple team taking home the victory. Brice,
I'm sorry, what?
I don't think they ever gonna call me again.
But you got a 3D printer too?
Child, I got no 3D printer. Shout out to Outwit Puzzle that always hooks your baby boy up. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I played this. But child, they should put me up to do the puzzle though. Okay. It actually is harder than it really does look though.
It looks pretty hard.
It looks hard, but he literally picked up a piece, put it exactly where it went. Picked another piece, put it exactly where it went.
Yeah.
And y'all know, or maybe y'all don't know, but I personally do not like a season of Superfans for this reason exactly. Because it's just like,
yeah.
But see, I love it though. I think that I love it because it's like, show me what you got. And I also feel like sometimes when you see it in person as opposed to you doing it on a little 6x6 and it's 5 feet tall. It's a little different, but I think that I love it because I feel like in the new era of Survivor, I love the fact that they are getting away from recruits and they are actually getting players. And so again, I can't talk enough about the baby boy Carson, but I love how he is playing the game where he knows everything, but he's trying to lay low. But clearly, even in this game, I heard Brandon be like, "Go Carson, go Carson, go Carson." So I mean, I low key love it, but
Carson would be my next target.
I gotta agree with Desi though. I don't really put blame on Carson though. I more so it's like production has seen people practice and complete these puzzles in the past, and yet they continue to reuse the same puzzles over and over. And so it's like when you then also are casting super fans, you're gonna have times like this where someone's practiced the puzzle, and like I don't want to watch someone completing a puzzle that they've done that they know like the back of their hand. Like I want to see them. I want to see it be a challenge. And so I don't know.
it still is a challenge. So if you
Not-
play, but if you play soccer, right, Jack, and you want
Yeah.
to go into the major leagues, what you gonna do before you get to the major leagues?
You're gonna
Yeah,
practice.
but that's different.
But in the major leagues, everyone else has practiced, so
Exactly.
it's easier.
But you don't know what, like, yeah, everyone has practiced. Everybody going on Survivor has
Well,
practiced.
I mean,
ways,
I'm not.
shapes,
It's
and
not even a
forms.
question of fairness because if you're saying that everyone's practiced the puzzles, Bryce, then it's just not going to be fun to watch the puzzles.
But
because everyone knows how to do that.
the goalie isn't practicing the same way a center left wing would practice.
It's a closed task versus an open task. An open task, there's a lot of variables. A closed task, there's literally no variables. So it's different when there's like a game happening and there's, I don't know how many people are on the soccer field at once. And there's a bunch of people on the soccer field at once versus like one player, one task that never changes, and you just have to complete that one task.
Yeah.
That you know is going to be exactly the way it's been for the past 5 Survivor seasons.
You've been in pageants, right?
It's still that's still an open task because the competition changes every time.
Right. And so the competition in Survivor changes, and you're not always going to get the same tasks. But, you know, Survivor's luck, I feel like it's a part of the game. So, I mean, it would behoove you.
But wouldn't it be better though if like every time it was a new puzzle, like as a viewer and as a player, it would just be more exciting.
But it's not just, if it were just the puzzle and they had to run and do the puzzle, I would completely get it. But it wasn't just the puzzles. Like, you know, you had to get up under a ball.
I mean, yeah, but by the time they were at the puzzle, it was also an even match. So it was just like the fact that Carson had practice, which props to him. Like I think that's great from Carson. But as a viewer, it's just like also not everyone has the resources to 3D print. I mean, shout out to Outwit Puzzles. I think you could get that puzzle from them. But it's like the average player might not. Now, of course, if they really put 100% effort into it, they could probably figure out a way to recreate every puzzle. And that's why Carson deserves recognition. But he deserves all the props in the world. But at the same time, I don't want to watch him like super fan out and just do the puzzles that he's already done. Like it's not that exciting. It's kind of like
It's giving jealous to me, Jack. If you want to go out there and play the like, you know.
But it's not. It's not. Jack is right. Not everybody has a 3D printer. And also, yeah, it's not exciting to watch somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. Like that would be like watching me. I'm trying to think of like something that's so mundane and so everyday that I do every day. Like it's like watching me brush my teeth. Like I know how to do this. I do it every day. It's not exciting. It's just these are the steps I do. I put my toothpaste on my toothbrush. I turn it on. I scrub. Like I don't know. I agree.
I mean, I get what y'all saying, but I just think a part of Survivor is not every challenge is the same, and they love to rerun a challenge. And so if you
well, that's kind of contradictory. You just said not every challenge is the same, but they love to redo challenges.
They do. I mean, they love to throw an old school challenge in there. And so it's like, I'm just saying. But regardless of that, my issue this week.
What's your issue?
Is with Brandon Cotter. Okay. I don't know if y'all were watching the episode when they was getting up under the balls. I've never been up under a ball before, but.
Where's Wendell with the whistle?
Okay. For me, it's always 2. But anyway, Brandon Cotter. Did y'all see when they were pushing the ball and then the other team ball like hit Brandon? Why did Brandon turn around and like he was like bop like You fighting balls now, Brandon?
I ain't mad at him because first of all, why would you set up the obstacle course like this?
Yeah,
First of
Carolyn
all.
got tackled, but I ain't never said Brandon. He got mad at the ball. Like Brandon, somebody was pushing it. The ball just didn't go. There's Brandon. Ooh. Brandon said, "Bop."
I don't blame Brandon because he didn't know until he turned around, but he was ready just in case. You know what I mean? Like he was ready to go, and I don't blame him because
Yeah,
it
nah.
shouldn't have been set up that way. Like get up off of me, and
But I
not
mean,
for nothing. Brandon was moving that ball, like moving that ball, so that messed up his whole team's momentum.
No, he did. And also, like, shout out to Danny, because we love a short king, and he didn't he didn't have to like duck much to get up under that ball, but he had that thing on his back. Okay, he definitely was like, it didn't go
Carolyn
up
said, I was
far.
getting my upper body strength till the end. Thank you very much.
No, I'm right, but they needed help because he did lift it as far as he could go, but they still had like 30 more feet to push it. But they got it off the ground, and that's all that really mattered, though. Okay, he was doing his breathe technique.
Yeah. But ultimately, ultimately, the purple team wins, which means that Carson, Matt, Jamie, Franny, Carolyn, and Brandon are safe. And they also get to go to the merge feast. And so they enjoy that. Whereas the orange team is now vulnerable and they have to go back to camp and begin strategizing. At the feast, they enjoy, the fruits of their labor, but also they start to strategize a little bit. And they decide that they want to target Josh, but plan on using Kane as sort of the decoy vote because no one's super connected to him. Because they're worried that Josh might have an idol or whatever. Granted, Carolyn tells them, not 100% sure that Josh does not have an idol. He showed us a fake one that had the same beads as the tree mail, like so and so. But everyone was a little skeptical, so they're like, "All right, let's have a backup plan in place." What'd you guys think of this feast? What and about the dynamic that went on here?
It frustrates me just as like a woman who's played the game, a woman now watching the game. Like it frustrates me how little they respect Carolyn and the things that she says. Like it's almost like she said nothing at all. They were like, "Oh yeah," but you don't know what you're talking about. Like I think it's going to work in her favor long term in the game. Like good for her. But just as like a woman who's trying to speak my mind, and I'm saying with conviction and giving you the facts that this is not a real idol, and still they were just like, man, like almost like, it happened the last time she won a reward too. Like she's trying to be a part of the mix and be a part of the conversation, and it's like they literally cannot hear her.
Right. The thing that made it even more frustrating to me was when she said it, Matt even was like, well, actually, he could have actually took the idol thing, but we don't know. Like, no, she's telling it to you.
She's seen it. She saw
right.
the thing. Right. She saw tree mail. She saw the idol. Like, she's telling you.
Well, and she also knows that she has the real idol. But that is a factor that it's like,
you can't say that. But,
exactly.
in her mind, she's like, I know what a real idol look like.
Now, I'm on both sides. Now, I think the way that they like wrote her off was pretty insane. Like, I think I really would have been try to been like super receptive to what she's saying. At the same time, it's like you never know for sure. It's like if Josh is your target, it's not bad to have a backup plan. But and then on both sides of that coin, it's like this is the group that's safe no matter what. So it is sort of like now you could be a little bit ballsier with how you make a move on Josh. But also, it's like you could also afford to make a backup plan because it's not going to, you're not going to be the plan B or the plan C. But I still think it's like, I don't know. If when Carolyn's giving you this information, I think especially when you're on a new beach together and you're just meeting people, you want to be the one who's like smiling and nodding and like making her feel like she's being heard, not the one being like, oh well, maybe. Right. It's just
I don't think anybody made her feel heard.
Yeah,
exactly.
No.
And that's what pissed me off.
Like, and that's why she can end up being like an X factor in this game. Is like when there's not so many, but a few players that are sort of like outcast a little bit or like kind of quirky or whatever, and people write them off. Like if you're the one who could utilize those players the best and actually make them feel like they're valued and they're good alliance members and whatever, that could be a huge edge in the game. Whereas if you're someone who's just straightforward, only working with the other people that are like similar to you, then you're kind of gonna get caught red-handed, I guess would be the term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And the
do
thing,
think it'll work in her favor long term, but it's still just
Definitely.
annoying and upsetting to watch.
right. We can
Yeah.
only hope. And I think even to your point, Jack, like of course it's always good to have a backup plan in Survivor, but it was as if what she said wasn't even information. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so that's the thing that for me as a fan is so frustrating. And again, just seeing a person like Carolyn on Survivor, it really resonates with me a lot because although I have this outgoing personality, there is a lot of things in my own makeup that like whenever I enter a new space of new people, I'm always like in my head, I'm so just conscious of different things. And I feel like it just comes from like my trauma of like just being a gay man growing up in like third grade. Like I never wanted to like talk out loud because I didn't want people to like make fun of me or anything. So it's like I just so get Carolyn when, you know, I want to skip the small talk. I want to just like get to know people already. And so like when we see her on the merge and even Jam Jam's like Carolyn's at a level 1, normally she's at a level 2. I just so can relate to like wanting to be yourself, but not necessarily not wanting to be yourself.
Having to tread lightly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that internal struggle inside that kind of just like eats you up. And then again, even more, I feel like I relate to her is that even then, when I do speak up, it's like I'm still ignored or ridiculed. Not saying that she's like ridiculed, but I'm just saying like there's just so much that I think so many people can relate to Carolyn's situation, which is why I'm just so happy we have a player like Carolyn on Survivor because she's truly a gem to watch.
Yeah.
What I do want to know about Carolyn, like we get to like the cameraman is always obviously there, like they catch everything, and we see all of her great like visceral facial expressions, and like we see all of that, and I just wonder like, do the other players see all of that, or is it happening so like quick that the cameraman is just catching it, but maybe they're not getting the full Carolyn like we're getting the full Carolyn?
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys think?
Well, I would say if I were to have allegedly met her, I would say that that's Carolyn's full amazing self.
Okay, so there's no way that they're not seeing that side of her.
Right. Oh, I think that it's a complete her, like 1,000%. Allegedly, if I were to have met her, you know,
Yeah, allegedly.
if and when I was in Atlanta, but you know, I'm in Philly now, so that couldn't have been. But what I wonder about Carolyn though is because you know, Desi, when we go on walks on Survivor and they'll pull you from walks, sometimes they're not that far. I'd be wondering when she screams or says something. I wonder if they like, you know, at camp eating some papaya and then they hear Carolyn and they're like, what's she talking about? Like that's what I want to know.
Yeah. And I feel like I feel like Jam Jam for sure. Like I feel like Jam Jam had all of Carolyn and everybody else they're gonna have to like slowly catch on. Because even I mean I will agree Carolyn was a level 1 like this whole episode.
Right.
So I do think she is at least like has enough wherewithal that she's like, let me chill. Like let me chill and make it through this first vote and then we'll figure it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean she was gonna make it through whatever, either way, but
yeah.
Another thing that I noticed at this feast dinner that I was kind of sort of like been dying to know is Brandon, right? So I feel like after Brandon linked up with Danny, we've just seen a more confident Brandon, or we're just seeing more of Brandon. But what I loved was when Kane's name came up, he was not opposed to Kane. And I have been dying to know this since the beginning when Kane wrote his name down. Now, I don't care what nobody say regarding that. Why you write my name down, Kane? And I ain't never gonna forget that. And I don't know, like, you know, I'm on the road to a better Brice. But I just love the fact that Brandon had that little bit of petty, like, listen, I can forgive, but I definitely don't forget. And if Kane name coming up,
I'll write it down.
I'll write it down.
Yeah.
And another thing that what I love about Survivor is, and again, hearing Brandon talk about it, it's like when you meet people, it's a game of like perception and it's a game of like really like if you have really good interpersonal skills with people and you could be talking to somebody, but you could be like, I don't know. I don't really trust it. And so what comes to my mind is I won't go into detail, but when I was in LA at my friend's engagement party,
What had happened?
I had took a photo with somebody, and I just knew they didn't like me. Okay.
Yes.
But no, but I love hearing those little like tidbits of like people like Brandon wanting low key revenge. Also, Jamie, like she really is. Again, now that we've made the merge, I'm getting to see more of Jamie. I'm like, could this low key be a winner edit with her as well? Like Josh coming to her with the tea, then she immediately has Franny, Heidi, and Jamie. Like, could that be a final three or all female? I don't know. I just be picking up on different stuff, and like Jamie is a lot of information is coming Jamie way. And also, I'm dying at the Survivor editors because there's so many doggone idols. It's like Jamie's idol, the one or fake idol. Matt gave to her. Like, yeah, please, thank you, keep it up because there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
but you don't got to do that with Josh's idol because we seen it fall apart.
Yeah, we know. But yeah, meanwhile, back at camp with the losing group, Jam wants to target Josh, and sort of vice versa, where Josh wants Jam. And it seems like the majority of people there, like Heidi, for instance, want to get Josh out, but they're also nervous about his idol, so they also are sort of formulating a little backup plan, which seems like it will probably be Jam. But once the winning team comes back from the merge feast, that's when people start to really, cross discuss and put their heads together to make a plan. And it seems like with the winning, especially being that they're the winning group, they were able to sort of push the agenda of getting out Josh, using Kane as the backup plan. And that sort of becomes the accepted narrative, which results in a couple things. First, we see Josh decide to go to Jam and say, hey, like if Kane's name is the name, let's get on the same page. We could be friends. We could vote Kane together. They did the little cross handshake.
What does that mean, though?
Yeah, what does that mean? And only one of them, Jam did not cross his hands.
It's just an extra little double. Well, I guess if both people cross their hands, then
I guess you can't really shake hands.
I don't really know if it works. Yeah.
Wait, can you? Oh, wait, give me your. This is my left hand, Jack. And then give me.
Yeah, our hands are facing the same way.
But no, it will work. Because look, but this. Put your left hand up, Desi.
No, because then both our hands would be facing outwards, and it would be like. Because you need one hand to face inward, right? Like if our hands are facing outward, it would be like.
Too bad we're all alone.
Right.
And then Jam is like, would you give me your idol?
I mean, but
to
Jam's point, like he's like, if you're gonna make a ridiculous proclamation, so am I, because clearly I don't like you. We don't like each other.
But him even saying that though made me then even question, does Jam even question whether or not that was a real idol or not? Because ultimately, I thought about that. If I were Josh and he said that, and I know it's a fake idol, I would almost, I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
I don't know, because I think he already knows that Jam feels like it's fake, so he gives Jam the idol. And then, I mean, I don't think Josh necessarily thought about all these things in that moment, but he gives Jam the idol. Then Jam's going to take the idol and be like, look, I got Josh's idol. How much of a real idol do y'all think this is? Like, there was no way that was going to.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like, it might be pretty obviously fake, but if a few people might believe it's real, it could be the difference between like being safe and being voted out.
Right.
But that was sort of just a funny continuation of Josh and Jam's relationship. But then we also get, once this plan is solidified, Carson goes and tells Kane that he is the backup plan, which leads to Kane scrambling and I guess successfully getting some people to shift their votes onto Jam as the backup instead of him. But because of this, Brandon finds out that Carson told Kane and sort of like brings it up to Carson, but Carson's able to play it off like, oh my God, whoops. And it kind of works out where Brandon sort of lets it slide, where I think he thinks Carson's just a kid who made a dumb mistake. And like, I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
I feel like Brandon was rooting for Carson to do that puzzle, so Brandon know Carson ain't a slippery slip of the mind, and we know that Brandon forgive, but he don't forget. And I think that is going to be, although I love me some Carson, and although I was trying to watch when they was at the merge, I was like, is Carson drinking? Because I know you're not 21. But I couldn't see it because they ain't showing enough of the clip. But my thing was that I was like, oh my God, are they showing us little clips of Carson's downfall, which I don't want to see because I love Carson, but because I understand what he doing because he like, let me just tell Kane he the whoop, so that he knows that information, Lord of the Rings, and then get him on my side. But at the same time, it's like, Carson, you can't play both sides of the fence, my brother, because now you got somebody like Brandon, and you know how Brandon is. If a ball roll on him, Brandon like, bop, bop, bop.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, I don't mind it. It definitely probably could have been executed a little bit better. I actually think his reaction to Brandon was decent, but at the same time, it's like we know Carson's pretty close with Jam Jam and Carolyn. I feel like Carson, if anyone, would. I mean, we see earlier he's like, let me reconnect this trio. So it's like, if I assume that he heard from Carolyn and Jam Jam probably the details about how Josh's idol is most likely fake, which I think it could be a little added factor to be like, okay, Josh is probably going home either way. Like, let me not rock the boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also think he could have just not said anything to Kane. Like, I don't think
exactly.
I don't know. I don't know how much gain he's going to get from that because he's in turn created more enemies. And I think Carson, if I were out, I mean, I try not to say names as much as possible, but he would be my next target.
Interesting.
But right, but he does have Kane. I really feel like the foul on the play, from my opinion, was Kane. But I get it. You can't say that somebody is your name and then them not whatever. But like, if I were Carson, I would go back to Kane and be like, "What's up with that?" Like, like I'm trying to protect you here. So
yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I do think this kind of shows, like, I mean, of all these connections, like Kane and Carson might be each other's closest allies. So at that point, you can't really blame. And yeah, to what Brice said, it's like, if you're Kane, don't rope Carson back into this. Just say like, hey, I heard my name pop up a little bit, and like, I really want to go for Jam Jam instead. And like, I'd love to work with you and make that happen, rather than being like, yo, Carson told me that.
right. He didn't wait for Brandon to be like, who'd you hear that from? He was just
exactly. And it's like, what's that going to achieve? Like, that's going to put heat on your ally? Like, that doesn't work.
What I wanted to know was, after, like, when all of this scrambling is happening and we're doing like the handshakes, everybody's talking, I want to know, like, on Survivor, I played not that long ago, Desi, you played, and we get to bring different things. What I wanted to know was, Josh, where he get that scarf from, and why you got to like, did y'all not notice his scarf? I'm like, what item, when you go out on Survivor, you like, you know what? Let me just go grab that scarf. I don't know when it might be a little breezy.
I feel in general, they have more wardrobe than I was allowed on. Like, I just feel like I've seen all of them in more clothing than we were allowed on Survivor. Like, yeah. What clothing item is a scarf? Because that wasn't
right. Who approved the scarf?
right.
And if it's raining, Josh, the scarf is probably wet. So, like, when I was on Cagayan and a typhoon came through, we quickly realized when we were cold, the quickest way to get warm was to get out of our clothes.
True.
Me and Jeremiah was skinny dipping in the water. The water was actually warm than us having our clothes on. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, what business meeting did Josh have to go to, and where was his trench coat? And like, when he's like talking to Jam Jam, like doing this handshake with the scarf on, I'm like, Josh, but we love Josh, but I'm just like,
a lot. That whole scene was a lot.
Yeah. But ultimately, these plans sort of, there wasn't too many layers. There was a few steps to getting to the ultimate plan, but it was sort of apparent right from the jump, and that at Tribal Council, ultimately, a majority of the votes do land on Josh. His idol's obviously fake. We get, I think, 3 on Jam Jam and then 1 on Kane, and Josh ends up being the last. Josh ends up not earning his merge, I suppose, and is the 7th person out of Survivor 44.
Yeah, it's a little bittersweet for me because
I mean, as a person, I like Josh. As a player, I knew he was being too messy too soon in the game of Survivor. Like,
Yeah.
his days were numbered. I mean, from his first tribe, he was about to go home until they swapped. Second tribe, about to go home. Like,
True.
and he kept on doing the same thing, like lying about dumb stuff. And that's what you have to like.
but I feel like everyone lies though in Survivor. I don't know. I take it a little for me, you know, Josh is an openly gay Black man, and so when I instantly saw him, I instantly identified myself with him. We have a lot of similarities, and I just feel like at times when people see a gay Black man, we get these stereotypes, people unconscious, like, you know, that like you see something that's like, he a threat, he gotta go, we can't. Oh, now he lying on Survivor. I've never seen anybody do that before. He's got to go, like, you know. So I don't know. It's a little kind of sort of bittersweet for me in the sense of that. From what I can see, is that he is definitely a player, no more conniving than a Danny. No more.
But Brice, when I will say, I know what you're talking about. Like, I think subconscious bias has a factor. But when you're lying about things like your job, and you're making different lies to different people, and you're lying about your idol,
or you have
you're
to
telling
lie to
different
certain
things.
people, but you can't lie to everybody.
I
Exactly.
agree.
And it's like,
we heard these things about him prior to this. Like, we've heard people say,
yeah,
like,
but
"Oh,
Brice,
he's a little skate." No,
if you tell Desi that you're like a podcaster, and you tell me that you're a physical trainer, and I talk to Desi, we're gonna be like, well, if he's lying about something as simple as that, then like, wouldn't he lie about some crazier things? And then it's like, you tell me you have a real idol, you tell Desi you have a fake idol, and then Desi and I talk, we're gonna be like, this dude's just shady. Like, he's just lying about the most random things.
Or you could be lying to like most people, but maybe have 2 people who you're like, hey, so I told so and so that
he did.
My job is a surgeon, or my job is what do you tell people? A personal trainer, but I'm actually a surgeon. I just want you all to know that I trust you. This is my real job. But I told them this. Like, you have to have somebody who's like in on your lives so they can trust you. I don't think it doesn't appear he does.
He told Jamie he didn't have the idol. He was keeping it real with Jamie. I'm just saying, I just feel like I've seen professional athletes come on the show and say that they're not, and people already know that they're a professional athlete, and I just don't feel like it. I don't know.
They don't usually do that well, though.
I mean, I'm just saying, for me, my viewpoint, I see things a little different. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just saying, like, for me, I completely get what y'all are saying, but I just feel like sometimes in my life, it just seems to like a domino effect. But again, I don't disagree. The lies weren't great. The scarf was cold. But it was sad to see him go, because I know that he wanted to do well. And again, for me, a Black queer man, seeing another openly Black queer man killing it, being a doctor, is really motivating. And I just think about other young Black queers that saw Josh. And in my opinion, I mean, although he didn't make the merge, he made the merge episode. And for me, it's as good as winning $1 million. So that I hope that Josh keeps his head up, and I hope that he knows that he is a true survivor.
Yeah, no, he was a lot of fun to watch.
And the scarf is hot, Josh. I'm just
if we have a second, I'd love to circle back to something that Desi actually mentioned when we were talking about sort of the puzzle and like Carson doing the puzzle. And you mentioned like, this is sort of the issue with having so many super fans these days. And I just wanted to sort of bring up this topic to both of you of like, and I think Brice, you mentioned it's like almost, I think you said you're glad there's like not so many recruits now. I might have, now I sort of want to talk about like with the new era from like 41 onward, especially, like, what do we think about sort of the balance of casting with like super fans, recruits, and whatnot? Because I really think like the shape of these casts has changed a lot since a few years ago, beyond like the diversity initiative, just sort of the like quality of player.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think what you pointed out, Jack, is actually probably better than what I said. So I initially said, like, I don't like a season full of super fans for this reason, but I think what you pointed out, which is that production should just have a wider variety of challenges and puzzles. I think that's probably the more appropriate way to do it. Because I mean, 10 years ago, I was not really watching Survivor. Like, but now I do, like, and I get into the season and I appreciate the gameplay, and there are a lot of great characters who love the game. So I guess I don't so much mind a super fan. I just think the game has to.
Yeah. But at the same time,
the game has to evolve more if you're gonna.
Sure. But beyond like the scope of like the puzzles and the challenges, I also do think, at least from my perspective, like that they've started casting more fans, or like not even super fans, just fans. Like a lot of the 20-something-year-olds will be like fresh out of Ivy League schools, and a lot of like the 30s will be in like the careers of like a doctor, a lawyer, and I guess like overall, like they're casting a lot of like fans, super smart people. But I think a lot of times that could, and like in theory, that should up the strategy. But I think a lot of times like everyone is so aware of like good strategy that it could actually lead to sort of like more straightforward decisions, because everyone sort of knows the good move. Whereas like back in the middle era of Survivor, you have a lot more like, I miss like the dude who just pulled up from his farm in like rural Kentucky, who has like no idea what's going on, and he doesn't know what he's gonna do, and that like throws a wrench in everyone's plans. Like, so I kind of wish now there was more of a balance of like those random, like, just like all different types of Americans, and like some of them might not have any idea what's going on with the strategy, like a almost like a Keith Nail, who's a legend. Whereas now I feel like everyone's sort of so in touch with the game, which I think in theory is a good thing, but in practice it's like it can make things a little bit more straightforward and like almost like familiar, because each season the cast is sort of like, okay, like who's our like doctor who went to Yale, like who's our so on and so forth. Brice, what do you think about all that?
I think there is a spectrum of the fandom, right? I think there are Carson level fans, and then there are like Bryce Isaiah level fans. And so I love the fact that they're just fans, and I think you're right. Like their fandom should go throughout the spectrum. I also think it's like a lot to do with personalities, and no shade to season 43. Season 43 was an excellent season, but I think to your point, Jack, right? It wasn't as riveting as season 44 is, because like we had players like Jesse, we had players like Carla, we had players like James, and like they all were thinking about their moves, and like it just seemed kind of straightforward because they were all so great players. So I think it, in my opinion, it's less to do with the fandom and more about, again, the diversity of the personalities. Because here we are, Carolyn, she's a Survivor fan. First of all, Carolyn is a member of the Purple Pants Posse, right? But like her life experiences influence how she sees things, and I just think it's if we just cast a wider net, I think that they do a great job of casting super fans. And although I'm gonna take this back, right? So I know that I said I don't like recruits, right? I think that they should do a better job of recruiting a wider net of Survivor fans, because there are so many people that watch Survivor, and I think that they get inundated with people that send in applications. And don't get me wrong, they're great people, but I would love for them to like go to places like, just different walks of life, different places and things. I think that really could help the show grow.
Yeah, and that's why I think like you said, Carolyn's a gem, because she is so chaotic and has like a unique background and perspective on the game, but she also is a fan, and so she's pairing those two things to play the game well in a really unique way.
Same with Jam Jam.
Exactly, yeah.
Like he is a fan of the show, like he know. But again, he's from Puerto Rico. His experiences of life and like him being a queer man of color, like there's just so many nuances that I think.
But to Jack's point, like they're still gonna do what strategically makes sense to them. Whereas Joe Blow from off the street, farmer from Oklahoma will just be like, I don't know, he looked at me the wrong way. So
Yeah.
But
gotta
see,
go.
I don't.
And that's kind of exciting too, where it's just like everybody
Yeah.
thinks he's voting one way and or he's the deciding factor and he's like, nah, I'm just gonna vote for who I feel like.
Or it's like in the old days of Survivor where people would be so hurt by like getting stabbed in the back. Now I feel like people are like, oh, it's the game. Like I'm gonna vote for the jury most of the time based on like who played the best game. But to just have someone who's like, you know what? You vote me out, screw you. I'm not voting for you. Like I think it just brings a layer of excitement to the game. And Brice, like you said, this season has had some good characters that's made it a little more engaging. But this episode, didn't love this episode. Like it just felt really sort of almost recycled in the sense of like the earn the merge, the puzzle, like just a very straightforward vote. Obviously, that might be a factor of the earn the merge twist. So I'm hoping going forward, like it does lock back in, but it is like sort of at a critical point where if it does go through like this cycle of like, oh, every time there's a vote, it's like people weigh out the two best options and like decide on the one that makes the most sense. Like just it's like good strategy, but it's not that exciting.
I've got a question for you too. So this is season 44. How much longer of Survivor do you think we have? I mean, it is the longest running reality TV show.
I think at least to 50.
But so I said that back on season 40. But when I realized how close we are to season 50, I don't know. I'm not saying I want it to end, but I'm just saying like, I am just curious to know if do we see a site, because it is a well-oiled machine, right? And so it's like, the views aren't in the 30 billions like it used to be back in the day, but it's still a well-oiled machine. And it just has me thinking like to some of the things that you're saying, Jack. It's like they move in the right direction in some areas and then other areas kind of sort of lag a little bit. And it's like, I think that in order for them to stay with the times, things have to change into what you guys are saying. So I hear what you're saying, but I'm still
even like the whole
I'm gonna practice my treat up.
Even the whole like I think something as simple as like, oh, we're changing the naming of the seasons to like 41, 42, 43, 44, etc. Like that, it's just made all the new era seasons really blend together for me, where it's like I need to think about like, oh, I think of you throw me someone on like a season 42, it takes me a second to be like, were they on season 41, season 42, 40, like which seasons have less identity. And like that's almost why I like a theme sometimes, because sometimes the themes can be really contrived, but at least it gives each season like a really, or like a location, like a new location. It gives each season a new feel where it's like, you name me someone from like an old season that had like a theme or whatever, I'm going to associate that person with like, oh, they were on like the so-and-so tribe. And like, that's how I know this was their season. And like, it just, and like the challenges are different. The twists are different. And now it just feels like very recycled a little bit. And so as far as like a Jeff Probst and the production goes, I could see it lasting a while. Like, because you're right, season 50 is only like 3 years away, and like Jeff still seems like he's sort of in a good spot with it. But it's like if we go to like a season 49 and it's still called season 49, it still has to earn the merge. It's just going to be like not that exciting. Like I'm definitely, Survivor isn't as riveting for me as it used to be, and I think it's just sort of a factor of the choices that they're making.
Or do you think it is a factor of when you grow up, your room is like this huge place. You go away to college and you come back and you like, well, darn, my room is small. Like, like I hear what you're saying, but I also think about like some of the younger generation that's watching it, that it may not be so recycled to them. So I
Are there any younger generation watching it?
Oh, girl, yes.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. who the audience is.
Yes, and listen, I don't got no shame in the game. If you 7 and watching it and you tweet me something nasty, I'm like, listen. It's like no, but no. The younger generation for sure watches. I think that I
Yeah.
am always so surprised at even at our Brice and Wen events, and when we have family friendly ones, the younger people that watch it, or the families that will tell me that like I watch this with my son every week. Like this guy named Nathan who came to our Seattle event, he was telling me his son is 7. He said last year they watched it. He wasn't into it, but he liked the daddy time. And this year he's really into it. So
Oh, that's so sweet. I do think what works in Survivor's favor is that I feel like CBS has tried a lot of new shows and they all fail. So they're like, oh, well, guess we'll just keep on doing Survivor. So I think that works in Survivor's favor. That like CBS, it's not that CBS has not tried other shows. Love Boat, they did some other survival type show and they just don't seem to do as well. So
that's the thing is like Survivor has, I think, steadily been around like the 8 to 10 million viewer like mark. It's also like relatively speaking really cheap to produce. Like you don't even have to feed your contestants. And so
and you don't do a reunion anymore. You
and,
like
and so it's like they're always going to turn a profit. It's more of like a question of like, when does Jeff Probst want to retire? It's like when Jeff Probst retires, do you call it then or do you find a replacement? It's like if the replacement's no good, do you find another replacement or do you call it? It's like, I don't know. And with that being like, I guess to like touch on that real quick, say Jeff Probst was to retire like tomorrow, who do you guys think would be a good new host for the show? This is something that I think a lot of people have debated and there's not really a great answer.
I think it should be a rotating thing, right? I think that they should rotate people in.
Like every season or every episode?
Dependent. Like somebody could do tribal, somebody could do the challenges. I feel like we can't. I don't know. I feel like we gotta test. We gotta test them. I don't want somebody just coming in unless it's the host of Survivor Australia. He could come in and just take Jeff place. Like, hey, he get it. But no, like I would love to see different people doing different things.
Yeah, I can't even envision who it would be. It would have to. I think it would have to be a Survivor. No, I guess I wouldn't. If there's a younger generation watching, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Survivor legend.
I think the perfect combo would be someone who is like a Survivor. Like
I'm gonna go with Sari Fields.
I'm gonna go with a Christian Ubicki.
I would say someone that jumps to mind is like a Rick Devens, like someone with a lot of hosting experience.
I can even see a Rob Sesternino.
Yeah, actually, Rob would be great.
Rob would be perfect. Yeah.
And then
maybe
it's like
analytical, but
Of course, when Jeff leaves, it's gonna be super. Like I think there's gonna be that instance where people are like, "Oh, it's just not the same." But I think there's plenty of new hosts that, given the opportunity, could really crush it, and like hopefully that would continue Survivor's trajectory going forward.
And last to your comment, Jack, I do think Survivor does listen to the fans. They do modify and change, and I do think we get similar things in these 2-season cycles. So I will be very interested to see what the difference is in season 46 and 47. So, they do film back to back. So it's like you get that repetitiveness, but I also feel like when this season ends and we go through 6 months and I haven't Survivor, you're going to be just as hype when you see the tree back on your screen, so I
get that tree away. I'm just hyped for the Brice and Wen presents.
Hey.
Not the tree. I don't want to see that tree again.
Yeah.
The next time I see any of y'all in person, I'm bringing this and I want y'all to do the tree.
I'm actually excited to.
I would try it, but it looks hard.
Yeah, but I just won't get my 3D printer in advance because then it wouldn't be any fun.
And then we can't have Carson doing it next to me because then I'm gonna look like a fool.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'd be happy to do it.
Well, I guess. Well, the tree will be here. Okay. Well, this was so fun, Desi. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the Purple Pants podcast. The posse misses you. If you're an OG of the podcast, you know Desi is no stranger to the podcast. So we appreciate you, Jackery. I always appreciate you. And this has been your Survivor News. We'll be back next week covering episode 7. I'm trying to think of what Issa, but no, I'm trying to think of I can love you
Better
than she can. I can love you.
I can love you.
If I told you once, I told you twice. QB, go to Udi, roll ice. For more ice under pressure. I lie for you, die for you. Ooh, by the head of your right hand, high for you. Cause of you, I'm a heredent. Arrogant. Oh.
I don't know all that.
Okay, yeah, that.
Not
You
in
know.
Brice.
Not too much. Well, you should at least. So it's a song featuring somebody, Jack. You should at least know the feature. You have to just take one guess of the feature.
It's definitely gonna be wrong, but I feel like I'm trying to pick up on some. I'm gonna go Ice Cube.
This has been your Survivor News because I'm done with Jack. Bye.
I just killed it all at the beginning. I didn't have any more. I don't
It
know.
was Little Kim.
I was gonna say
like,
I actually didn't know either, but I would have guessed Lil Kim because Brice was.
But Brice sings every song like in a
and don't you dare say jazz.
No. I was gonna say jazz. I was gonna say like in a gender neutral tone. Like you sing like guy songs in the same voice. You sing like female songs in the same voice. So I'm like, I never even know who's rapping. I don't know if it's a guy. Yeah.
Is it giving androgynous?
I'm the first androgynous rap style. Yeah.
Black and yellow.
That's Wiz Khalifa.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You knew that was a guy. Anyway, Survivor News will be back.
I knew the song, but I would have thought
Survivor News. Survivor News.